Here we go. We are now live on YouTube and Facebook. Hello, family. What's up, y'all? Say hey, Lauren.
Hi,
Listen,
everybody.
I already can tell.
Hello, everybody. Everybody. I've never gone live on YouTube before. This is the first.
Listen, we're getting into a new rhythm. I'm typically on Instagram, but for my folks who have not known us on YouTube very long, my name is Ariel Young. I am a career transformation coach, and I like to talk to experts like Lauren who have done their due diligence in their industry. They have learned what they need to learn from corporate America. They got the epiphany to be like, you know what, maybe I should take a leap. And they went out into entrepreneurship to figure out what was life going to look like in the second rendition. So without further ado, I know we talked a lot on the episode on the Work and Play podcast, but give us a little bit of an introduction. Lauren Parrott, CFO, CPA, profit strategist. What is that? Who is she?
Yes. And it's so funny because since we have recorded that, I feel like so much of my life has changed.
Yes. Okay, so here it is. Fun fact of the Work and Play podcast. Many of the episodes that you guys see have been recorded months ago, but Lauren's is special because we pushed this thing back for a little while. So I have been so excited to bring it to you guys. One, the episode was fire. And then two, this right here is about to be lit. So yeah, I appreciate you coming. I appreciate you lighting some fire on the first one. But how things been going since everything? Since the podcast?
Well, I've kind of switched gears, to be honest with you. We're always self-learning. I took an amazing masterclass and realized that what I was doing wasn't what my spirit was leading me to do. So I have discontinued with doing accounting services. So basically a whole part of my business revenue model, everything, I've discontinued it. I'm in the process of, transferring my last client off to another accountant. And I'm excited for new things. I mean, a lot has happened in the last 2 weeks. Even I was going to even discontinue like CFO services, but I've had some people kind of like put me in a chokehold and tell me I can't do that to them. So I'm going to still do some strategy, some advising, some profit strategy, which is just really, what do we need to do to get the profit? And I'm really focusing on the experience now. I realize that a lot of people are just so worried about the profit, but no one's thinking of like, what's the experience like? Is it high quality? What is it? What senses are ignited? How do you feel? I read the Be Our Guest book that talks about Disney and how they're able to just create this transformation. And any person who's gone to Disney, you feel it once you get there. It's like it's an entire thing. And to read this book, I just realized people aren't thinking about this. So now I'm going a little bit more so to like just strategy and experiences.
I love it. I love it. As you were talking, and I remember you spoke on the morning meetup one time, you're a holistic, CPA, right? Like you're not just, hey, hand me the books. Let's go ahead and crunch these numbers. Even on the podcast, you mentioned the experience from the website all the way to delivering the services. So when it comes to profit strategy, what I understand is you help those little parts of the businesses that don't generate money and you help elevate those so that you can generate profit in a business that's already running.
Yes. And also I'm a lot more focused with the experience. I've worked with people who certain things that I care about, they just don't care about. And it didn't sit with me. And I didn't really understand why it didn't sit with me until I read a couple books and I was like, this is what it is. So like, for example, if you get a gift box from someone, some people aren't thinking about the smell of the paper in the box. Right. So I'm like, did you smell the paper? And they're like, who smells paper? Like, who's thinking about that? I'm like, no, like, did you smell this paper? The box doesn't feel right. Did you feel this ribbon? This ribbon doesn't feel right. So I'm paying attention to a lot of the micro level details. And I'm like, this all matters. But when you're so used to certain people who aren't used to certain type of things, or they don't really care about quality like that, they're like, no one cares about that. And so through this last couple months, I realized there are people that care about that, and that's my tribe. And I need to work with people who care about that. I need to work with people who want to send a package and they care about the smell of the paper. They don't have to think about it themselves. But if I say, hey, I don't like the smell of this paper, can we put a scent in it? They're like, sure thing. That's my group. That's my tribe.
I love that. I love that. And I'm thinking of it from a logical perspective, so you might have to bring me down. But it makes sense because that person, that entrepreneur who's really passionate about their business, from every single inch of the product to, like, like the small details, because they made it themselves and they've made it to a 6 or 7 figure business. They care about the paper smelling good. They have dreams about their customer opening it up and being like, oh my God, this is nothing like I ever had before, which affects profit and in a different way. So you don't want your CPA to look at the box that you've created and it smells good, the paper smells good, the little accents on the box, you thought through that. And then CPA is like, oh yeah, we got box paper, got it. They're not attributing value to it. They're not thinking that this adds to the bottom line. They're not getting it. So it sounds
like have the complete opposite thing. Like a lot of, I would say, like even what you just said, a lot of entrepreneurs don't care about that. Like a lot of entrepreneurs don't care about the paper. They're like, I have this coaching program, I have this service, I have this one-on-one. They're not thinking about that. It's really like designer clothes, right? You have some people that only buy designer stuff that has labels on it. So if it doesn't have a label on it, they're not going to buy it. But then you have other people that buy designer stuff because they like the way that it feels on their body. They like the way that the fabric is. They like the fit of it. They like the look of it, And so I think that's really the difference. You have some people that only buy designer because they want other people to see it. And then you have the other people that do it for themselves. And I work with the people best who spend a lot of money because they like the silk, they like the satin, they like the lace, they like the intricacies. I'm more of the people that buy the Valentino and the Yves Saint Laurent and not the Gucci, Louis Vuitton type people.
Okay, listen, please make these differentiations for the people. I'm trying to figure out which one I'm going to be because Lord knows my clothes be like, I'm for the people. I'm a woman of the people. Most of my stuff comes from sister on the corner, and I'm like, I want to support. So
but even with that, some of the think about clothes that you bought from the sister on the corner and it's made with love and the
yes
of it. It's
the meaning behind it.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? It's like you got me.
It's all about the quality. Like I'm with the people where I don't care about this name. I don't need a name all over this. I bought this because I like how it feels on me and I like the experience of it. And I like to work with people that like the experience of things. And I'm just now realizing that that's kind of like more of my niche. Like the bougie people, but not even so much the bougie people that just like nice quality things for themselves. And it's not like to be a popularity contest or something.
Yeah, absolutely. So now that we know exactly who you want to work with, one of the things that I know, we have known each other, we always talking, like not always, but we have talked for a while, right? I say not always because we were just talking about before we went on live. I was like, listen, we be talking about chilling and having soft days, but sister girl and I, we are working every time I see her. So
I know, right? We're like, okay, I'm working 2 more hours. Okay, I'm gonna give you a ring, and then 2 more hours go by. I'm like, wait, girl. So I ended up getting a little groove. So it ended up being 4 hours. I'm so sorry.
Gotta get the rest of this work done. But one of the things I was gonna ask you is like, okay, so we talked a little bit about this on the Work and Play podcast, but I went into finance just because I feel like I had to, right? For the prestige, if anything. I was good with numbers, not really like my favorite thing. But when I talk to you, you light a flame, and I'd be like, ooh, do I want to go back into finance? Like from your perspective, you make finance and accounting seem fun, right? And I think that the way you just described, like your clients' products and stuff like that, the interest that you get in those small intricacies, I feel like I'm understanding a little bit more that it's not just a numbers game for you. So for those who are looking and watching, and they're trying to figure out, how do I go from being, a CPA, and let's say right now they don't get to wear like nice floral event like dresses, and they don't get to like be who they really are. What is it about, accounting and finance that just speaks to your soul? And then, what is 2 parts? Let's start with that one. What is it about finance and accounting that speaks to your soul?
I love that it's fact and not opinion. That's my favorite thing. The numbers don't lie. I'm not a big opinion type of person. And I like to just get to the facts. And I think a lot of time when you have conversations with people, it's so like opinion. They're like, well, that's your opinion. And it's like, no, but it's really not. Like I literally just had a conversation about the COVID vaccine. And I was just like, it happened really fast. And they were like, no, that's your opinion. I'm like, okay, what's the normal time the FDA takes to approve stuff? Okay, did it happen faster than that? Okay, so did it happen fast? That type of
Yeah.
gray area.
Yeah, yeah.
I just like 2 + 2 is 4.
Yeah.
This is, now I do like the story that you're able to create behind it, and you're able to figure out what is it telling you. But my favorite part about numbers is it makes sense. It's the mathing. That's like my code. Like it's the mathing. And that really excites me. But I think the second thing that really excites me about it is I just love to help people. And I realized a long time ago that math just comes to me a lot easier. Like I've always been in advanced math classes. I've always been like, I was taking algebra in 7th grade. I was learning algebra in 1st grade. So the way that my mind works with certain things, I'm now realizing that it doesn't work like that for everybody. So I'm just like, look, your brain might not, translate like me. So let me help you out. Let me tell you how it is. And really helping people and really understanding that education is really the difference between, someone in poverty and a millionaire. It's really what were they taught and when were they taught it. That's really the biggest difference. So to be able to take this factual type of stuff and just say it's white or black, and then to just kind of put that into a way where I can teach at-risk people, I can teach, minorities, I can teach just disadvantaged people these little tweaks, and they're able to just move differently. Like I had a friend who was paying all this money for someone to fix their credit. And I'm like, okay, well, you obviously just don't understand how credit works. So let's just have a session. I'm going to teach you how credit works and you're going to be good. He messaged me a couple of months ago. He's at a 700 and something now, and no credit repair. No, literally just like, okay, let me look at your portfolio. Okay, you don't have any credit cards. You need credit cards because credit cards are ranked this, and this is a percentage. So really just converting it as a teaching moment, it makes it so much more enjoyable.
That makes sense. And now that you mentioned it, this was definitely not on mine, but when you mentioned like the whole credit repair, and it's really unfortunate because what happens is when you don't educate your clients, the people in our community, they pay for these quick fixes. A credit repair is not going to help you learn the behavior that you need to maintain good credit. And so a lot of people might get, an 800 just after getting their credit repaired, but still mess it up because they never knew how to maintain it in the first place. So what you're talking about is way more sustainable for the community than I never really thought about that. So that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, to your point, I know someone that every time they want to do something, they have to hire someone to do their credit. Right. Like every time it's like, okay, so I want a new car. So I had to call my friend and she just wiped this and she added this trade line and she carried the 2 and she minus the 1. Like it's so, and I'm like, you're not tired from this. like you should just have good credit. Like just work on good credit so that you don't have to pay someone every 6 months to a year or 2 years when you want to get a new apartment or when you want to refinance something. So I'm really about the education part about it. I've always loved school. I've always loved learning. Like I said it before, like I'm just a leech when it comes to knowledge, and I'm able to basically translate this information into a way where it's easily, digestible by the common person. And the little bit of help that I'm able to do just excites me. Like when someone comes to me years later, like, yo, you said this and I was able to do this, I'm like, oh, I'm so happy I was able to help you, and so that it's so pleasurable to me that, that's just the extra on it. But I love business. I love to read about businesses. I love to meet CEOs and CFOs. I love to talk to people about, how their mind works, how they thought about this new idea, how they grew it, how they built the processes behind it. That is just naturally exciting to me. And I think too many people do what makes money, and they don't just think about to do what they enjoy,
Yeah.
and finding a way to just do it at the most utmost level that you can to make money.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah.
I didn't think about the ways. I just knew I love math. So I was like, okay, I love math, I love numbers, I love money. Okay, who doesn't? And
I
I'm like,
love that.
yeah. And so just this natural thing. And then I started looking into it like, oh, okay, I can make a lot of money like this. I can learn how to do this. So I think people really just need to go after what they naturally gravitate to, because you're just going to end up devouring information more than anybody else.
Yeah.
And you're going to just become the expert faster. I've read probably more books on business than the average CEO, than the average
She
person.
reads a lot. Oh, if you guys are watching still on Instagram or YouTube, she reads a lot. The child reads a lot. I can attest. And if you guys are watching on Instagram, join us on YouTube because Hot Mama is smoking.
I love to read. And so I'm reading, like I'm reading a book right now on the Ritz-Carlton,
Case study.
it's not even so much a case study, but it is kind of like a case study, and they're just going into like how the Ritz-Carlton, because the Ritz-Carlton is kind of like the standard of luxury and hospitality, and how were they able to do that, and how were they able to create that. And one thing that's common with Ritz-Carlton and Disney is neither one of them were alive when the vision really started to kick off. Walt Disney wasn't even able to really absorb Disneyland. He passed away before it became really what it was. Mm-hmm. So these people had strong enough visions and told the right people that was able to bring their vision to life. There's also a champagne company. I just forgot the name of it, but the husband married a woman and passed away, and she had the whole empire. It's it's the orange one. I just forgot the dang on name because I don't really drink liquor like that.
Y'all got in the chat, orange champagne.
Orange, they have the polo events every year. The orange bright color, like it's such a, but this wife, married in and was like, okay, I'm gonna take it. And so, I think that I like to read because I like to really see like what's really important. And I'm realizing the vision is the most important thing, and finding people that believe in that vision, because you might not be able to execute it, but finding the people that can execute it. We wouldn't have Disneyland if he did not have the right amount of people around him.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know what? Speaking of vision, you actually spoke about this a little bit on the podcast. But honestly, I was so sucked into the story that I didn't like sink my teeth into it. But we can right now. One of the things that you said when you were still in your job, you were like, I'm looking on you're looking at everything on YouTube. I'm seeing these people and I'm imagining myself building relationships with them. I'm imagining them being my clients, right? And so part of what I'm picking up when I'm watching the podcast is like, okay, she had a vision. She had she was manifesting these relationships, right? I mean, I'm looking at you right now. You have your dress. I want to say floral, but it's just soft, so smooth.
A little razzle dazzle.
A little razzle dazzle. And we even talked about you like in your clothes and your evolution as well. But when it comes to you and your vision, right? And your process of manifesting, because I didn't ask you this, like how much do you put into like cultivating a vision or communicating a vision and then trying to live out that vision? As you spoke about it on the podcast, it seems so like just kind of haphazard, like, oh yeah, I was watching it. I said, oh, these people seem like they could be my client. And I just followed it. But do you have a process, or in hindsight, what was that process?
I would say, especially now, I'm realizing it's so much more haphazard than anything else. Like, so I have an old iPhone. Everybody talks about me with my old iPhone, my iPhone 6 and SE. But I look, it's not broke. Okay, I just can't think about spending money on something that's not broke. It just don't make sense to me. But when my storage gets full, because I have that issue, I'm like, okay, it's time to purge. It's time to delete stuff. So I looked at my phone. I had thousands and thousands of screenshots. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to delete these screenshots. So I'm going through the screenshot, and I screenshot people that I didn't even realize I had screenshots of. And I've either met them since then, worked with them one-on-one, worked with them at an event, like things of that nature. And I didn't even realize I had these screenshots in my phone until 2 weeks ago. And I'm going through it. I'm like, oh my God, this person was in my phone. I just met them so and so. I did this. So I think it's more haphazard really than anything. But one thing is I understand the power of proximity and getting in the room. And I think just really just going with the flow and just being comfortable enough to just get in the room and to just know I have to get into the room, and whatever happens when I come into the room is supposed to happen, because you never know what the purpose and the reason is, right? I've gone to things with a specific person in mind and end up leaving with people that I never thought to even talk to. And then now months later, like these people are more influential in my life than the reason why I went there. So a lot of times if you plan too strategically, like, okay, I want to meet this person. I'm going to go to this thing. I'm only going to talk to this person. I'm going to, you might miss the reason that you were really supposed to be in that room. And that's the thing. A lot of times if we get too blindsided, you miss out on greatness. Like I have a really great colleague that's now, like, I call him a homie now. And if I was too focused on one thing, I would have missed him.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have seen him. And when I saw him, I'm like, hey, started talking to him. We now have a relationship. And now he's bringing me on board to create something in his business that's super fun, that I'm enjoying the heck out of, but also that I'm able to be my authentic self. And we had a conversation because I told you I was getting out of this business. And he's like, no, I need you to help me with this. And I told him all my flaws. I'm like, I hate emails. Please don't email me. My chest gets tight when I open up my email. I don't want to, he's like, I want to add you to this email thread. Do I have to be on the email thread? Because I don't have to be on the email thread. He like, you really don't. Like, I thought you wanted to be it. So to have a conversation with someone that's bringing you on board, who really sees your strengths and is fine with your weaknesses and is allowing you to build out a team to cover your weaknesses, I'm like, this is heaven sent.
Yeah.
Like, heaven sent. In every single thing that I don't want to do, I told him I don't want to do it. And he's like, and most of the stuff he loved to do. So he's like, perfect. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. And in that little gap, we're going to build out, And so but I would have missed him if I was only focused on one thing. So I think that, let your vision put you in a room, but don't dictate that you're only going to talk to the person that you think you want to talk to in that room.
Yeah. Thanks for wrapping that up, because I think that's exactly what I was going to say. A lot of times I have friends who, and even with the exit strategy, right? It's like, you said this on the podcast, which is so funny. You don't want to plan yourself out of an opportunity. Like, you don't want to plan yourself to the point where you don't actually take action. And for those of you guys who are joining us on Facebook or YouTube, what's up? We are having a conversation with Lauren Parrott, episode 71. And we're talking about how she went from CPA in corporate to CFO in profit strategist and entrepreneurship. But as you're talking, I'm thinking about how we plan ourselves out of opportunities, right? And I'm also thinking about how you were able to capitalize on some of the natural organic opportunities. Now, if you don't mind, any of the experiences that you're comfortable with sharing, what was it like, right, to go from being in Chicago, looking at some of the people on YouTube, identifying who you might want to work with, and then finding yourself in the room, right? You might have thought you were going into the room to have a conversation with one person, but then you left with a more meaningful relationship with someone else. Walk us through the process of you going through those moments, whether you had to talk yourself into more confidence, or if you had to just remember okay, I'm in the room to do business. What were some of the things that were going on as you were growing into these spaces?
I think my biggest thing was really just getting into the room with no agenda. Because to your point, when you have an agenda, you'll miss everything else because it wasn't on your agenda. And that's when you kind of mess things up, because then also people can feel that. People can feel if you go to an event and you only want to talk to this one person and you only want to talk to them because you want to do business with them, they can feel it. It's kind of an ingenuousness. And for me, I wasn't sure who I was supposed to talk to, who was I supposed to meet with. I just knew that I was supposed to get in a room. Same thing with, me going to the AICPA Women's Leadership Conference, where I met the professor who told me that the idea I had was completely wrong. It's trash. She's like, baby, let me tell you something. That's trash. So like with that one, I just knew I was supposed to go. Like I had this burning desire to go. Like something was like, Lauren, you have to go to this. So that's what mine is more than anything. It's really like, Lauren, you have to do it. Now it's never really like, okay, you have to do it because you need to talk to this person. You want to talk about this. It's just like, you have to go to this event. And I never really understand why I have the burning desire to do it till months later when I'm able to look at it. And I'm like, oh, this is because I've looked back at some things, and initially I was like, okay, I was supposed to do this because I got this client. But then months later, I'm like, no, I was supposed to do this because I met this person that has helped me with my weaknesses. And that's more so what it is. It's a lot of times, like, even when you're on certain communities and stuff, and you're looking in the chat and you see people just selling their services, just buy my services, buy my services, buy my services. And you're just looking like, I don't even know you, son. Like, I don't even know who you are. I don't want to buy your services. And it's not like engaging. It's not organic. And you can't fake organic. So I always just go by, just get in the room and just be present. In the room, be present. Don't if you have an agenda, you don't know who you can talk to that can help you. I went to some place with no agenda and ended up being invited to places with people that I literally just met. And I'm like, okay, we're going with it. And now months later, some of these very people I talk to on a regular basis, and they help me grow so much just as a human, let alone a business person.
Yeah. I'm thinking about the time. I don't know if this was the first time we were at the podcast recording or one time we were at the podcast recording, but I just remember like being all into my laptop. This goes to you saying being in the room and being present. Because Lord knows I'm in the room, right? I'm working my butt off because I'm building my business. And then my name gets called. I'm like, what is going on? You were there, right? Which is so funny because I remember my experience, but then I also remember you hopping on the mic and being like, I'll do a podcast and I would definitely do this. And you went through your your spiel on how like what equity would be worth to you. I was like, this girl has got it. I was like, let me just hang out with her. She knows what she's doing.
It's about being present. It's really about being present. And even with that, right? Something in my spirit has told me like, you need to be more present. We're in such a technological age, and everybody's multitasking, where if you don't multitask, then people think you're crazy. And something was just like, stop. Like, when you're eating, just eat. Don't be doing business while you're eating. Don't do, because these are all different things that I did when I was in public accounting, and I didn't have that break. It was like you get there at 7 a.m. You're eating breakfast there. You're eating lunch there, and then you look up and it's 7 p.m. and you spent 12 hours here, and you're like, I didn't even see the outside. I didn't even see what it was. And so something just told me like, be present. Now I'm like wrapping up this book called Positive Intelligence, and it's such a good book. Oh, it's such a good book. And someone recommended it, right? Some guy I never expected to meet. I met him at an event. I talked to him. He was so bright. He was like, you need to read this book. Read the book, and basically it talks about how only 20% of people are able to be successful and do what they're supposed to do. And it's because we have judges. We have internal saboteurs. We have things that sabotage us. And the best way to work on your sabotages and to silence them is to be present. It is to, when you're eating lunch, is to think about how does the fork feel when it clicks your teeth, and how does the lasagna feel, and what's the smell, and when you're driving, do you feel your legs in the seat, and if you're outside, you feel the wind on your face. And these are all things that I like subconsciously, I'm like, I need to pay more attention to, and I just started doing it. But now I'm reading this book and I'm like, oh,
you have unlocked it. That's even a reminder, because last week in my coaching group, we literally did an exercise called, it's a raising exercise. So you take the raisin and you eat the raisin in a way that is not like you typically would. Like you observe the raisin, you feel the raisin, you put it up to your mouth. You don't put it in your mouth. And then once you put it in your mouth, you wait. You literally observe it in your mouth. It's a completely different way of eating a raisin. So everything that you're saying makes a lot of sense, but it's so challenging for people who have to come around to that mindset of mindfulness, right? Like, have you started to implement that into your own life? Or do you find that it sometimes catches you and you're like, oh, wait a minute, I'm eating or I'm texting and I'm eating? Like, what's that process been like for you to implement mindfulness?
I would say sometimes I fall off. I will be honest with you. You know, sometimes I fall off, but when I remember, I'm like, no. You know, I'm like on the phone. Like, let's say I have a call that I need to do and I'm about to eat lunch. I'm like, no, that call can wait. I want to fully make this food. I want to fully do it because when I started to fall out of love with cooking. I've been cooking since I was a little girl. Like I was the person I was watching, you know, Food Network, and I'm like, I love onions. I like the way they sound. I want some onions. I used to like take a little ball of tissue and chop it up like it was onions. Like I loved it. But then after having to cook and having to do all this stuff, I fell out of it. But it was because I was doing too much while I'm cooking. I'm working, I'm reading, I'm checking my son's homework, I'm doing this. I couldn't just fully enjoy it. And now I'm like, no, I am going to just enjoy it. I'm going to just sit and I'm not going to listen to no music. I'm not going to listen to a YouTube because Lord knows I'll be listening to my YouTubes, you know, and I'm going to just exist. But now when I am driving in a car or something, I'll listen to YouTube then. Like, so I don't listen to music like I used to, because when I used to eat and do different things, when I used to multitask, now I don't multitask. And I just sit in the moment, but it isn't easy.
Yeah.
Especially when so many people multitask.
Yeah.
You know, so many people multitask that sometimes you feel a little weird to even say that you don't want to multitask, because now they're looking at you crazy. Like, well, how efficient and effective are you? And I've also been reading more about how like working yourself so hard, you'll die sooner. And no one's talking about that. You know, it's always this whole, you know, you can sleep when you dead. Well, you're going to get there a lot faster than me, baby, with these 7 hours I'm getting, because we have to replenish ourselves. We have to rejuvenate ourselves. We have to heal. And we weren't created to just work like this.
Yeah, you really you hit the nail on the head with a lot of the things. And I'm glad you got what's that book again on emotion? Tell me again. What's
Positive intelligence.
Positive Intelligence. I'm going to read that one because I think that it's just going to go really well. We might even read that.
It's a test that you have to take too. And it tells you, yep, it's a test. You know, I love tests, girl. I love tests.
Your 5 Enneagram self.
I know my Enneagram. So it's a test that you take, and it tells you what your main sabotages are. Like, basically, what's the name of the voice in your head that is messing you up the most? And my number one is I am hyper rational.
Tell me more.
That's my sabotager. I'm too rational. I'm extremely rational, especially be a woman. Like, a lot of people like, you're not really like a woman. You're not emotional enough, you know, so I have to work on it. But I'm so rational. Like, it's a little too rational. Like, I was having a conversation with a girlfriend of mine, and she was talking about how, like, you know, like men that manipulate, like manipulators, and how they need to change. And I was just like, but why would they change? You know, like, you've been a manipulator all your life. It's worked out. You're able to get what you want because you manipulate. You making good money and because you manipulate. You get the women that you want because you're a manipulator. Why would you change when everything you want you can get? Like, that's how rational I am. I'm not even mad at the manipulator. I'm like, you should just not be like people should just not get manipulated. Like, you should.
But it's funny that you say that, Lauren. I hear you, and I understand that might be the way your mind works. But I will also say that it's done you well in a sense, because like when you visualize something, like for you to say like, okay, this is how I want my life to be when I leave corporate, right? You were rational enough to see some of these relationships as like these are potential relationships, as opposed to like this idealistic sense of like, oh, we're gonna like that, or just, you know how some people look at some of these influencers like they're famous. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's like you had a rational You were rational enough to be like, this is a reality for me. I'm putting it out there. It wasn't even something you were like, trying to manifest, right? Actively. You were manifesting it. It's just that you weren't rationally manifesting it. So it seems like it's even though it's a saboteur, it
Mhm.
sounds like it's really like served you well because you've been realistic, right? Realistic about the things that you want to achieve and you've achieved them.
Mhm.
And it wasn't nothing that you had to really make a big deal about.
Yeah, no, but even with that, it's taking me longer to do things because I'm so, rational. I'm also like a little bit of a perfectionist. So there are certain things I look at, I'm like, no, it needs, like, for example, I had a meeting and I pushed the meeting back because I felt like I could do so much more on this Excel and stuff. And then get to the meeting, I'm talking through the meeting, I'm like, okay, so before I share my screen, this is what I did, and da 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 da, and this is the person I chose. And they're like, bet, okay, so let's hire them. I'm like, wait. Wait, you don't want to see the spreadsheet I made? No, you don't want to see it. Dang, okay, I just spent this time on the spreadsheet. It's so pretty. I got formulas and everything. It's colors and stuff, So that hyper rational person can become too rational sometimes.
Yeah.
And that's something that I've been working on, is learning to go with the emotion, to go with the flow, to go with, you know, to not be so rational, because I can get too rational. That's why I have more emotional girlfriends. One of my best friends, one of my other best friends, he told me and her are perfect for each other because she's hyper emotional, I'm hyper rational, and we
Mm,
just meet in the middle,
balance each other. Yeah.
balance each other out. And he was like, we need each other, and that's why we've been friends for it's almost 20 years now. But he's like, that's why you need certain people, because I'm so rational. I need a woman to like bring out the emotion in me. And I'm like, oh, okay, I guess.
Well, speaking of which, that was the last part of the transformation that I want to get into, right? Like, I think that, so you and I, we talk about this for those of y'all who don't know. And if you're still watching on Instagram, you need to come on to YouTube, click the link in the bio and join us. But we talk about, femininity a lot. And you've been talking a lot about it really like outwardly and publicly. And even one of your favorite clients, she's a femininity coach, right?
The
So,
film guy, I love her.
say that again.
The film guy, that's her
The
name.
film guy, right?
The
And
film guy.
so when you are thinking about your life, your past life as a CPA, I'm envisioning brown, black, and gray suits, honestly,
Yes.
right? And I'm also wondering your journey to be able to visualize and then live, or rationalize and live, this more softer side of life. What was the journey from going from a male dominated industry for you to now being able to, the way that I see it, you live in your work and play life. You're able to be your feminine self and do numbers at the same time. I know you got to be around more emotional women so that can come out of you, but it's growth, right? So what
Yeah.
has that transition been like for you to go from CPA, corporate CPA, to now?
So now, I would say, I was just watching, my son's phone is blowing up, girl. This beeping, I'm just like, his birthday was yesterday. So I'm just like, Jesus. I don't know if y'all can hear that. It's
No, we cannot hear it.
I'm like,
Yeah.
God, I hear this, Jesus. I would say, so I just watched, I literally just watched April Mason's podcast with Dave Chance, and one amazing interview. Like, oh my God, it was so good. But I think I loved it even more so because the questions he was asking forced her to answer in such a vulnerable way. And he kept asking her, like, well, what was the transition of how did you get here? And she was like, I was always this. I just was hiding it. And I would say that was more so me. Like, anybody that anybody that you meet that has known me prior to 18 will say, I am the exact same that I was. They'll say I'm not as, feisty. I was a little more fiery, but when it comes to, I mean, I made my own clothes. I've been making my own clothes since I was 7th grade. I made my birthday outfit in 8th grade. I've been sewing. My mom bought me a sewing machine when I was in 7th grade. So I've always been bright. I've always worn colors. I was wearing heels in high school. I had my little pumps on my 8th grade graduation. Like a little heel. a little
them little square heels when you go back and you realize they
you
really,
know,
we was like doing
you on
something.
the ground, but you like, I just, got my little heels on. So I was always this. It was just that when I got into corporate, I just assumed because all I saw was dark colored clothing and things like that. I assumed that you were supposed to be like that. No one told me I had to do it. But because I didn't see women, and I mean, you don't see women wear colors like this, and literally it was like, okay, I got to get dark colors. I need my grays, like your blacks, your browns. I thought I had to be that. And it started to affect me internally. And I didn't realize why. And it was because I wasn't really being my true authentic self. But then also I got energy from dressing a certain type of way. I got more life from moving a certain type of way. So I really just, and I mentioned it thanks to Kimmy Ellen, she really was just like, just be you. Like, I hired you because you were you. I came to an interview at a public accounting firm with a sequence shirt on. Like, I thought it was the cutest. I was like, yeah, and so and it was really just me just going back to who I was and understanding that, too many people hide themselves and fake themselves that we don't even think about the people that are looking for someone like us. And I think I forget that every year. Every single year I forget that. And I was talking to Brandon Dixon. Brandon, shot me. And I love him. I think his personality, just who he is so authentic. And I was just like, I wish I could be like you. Like, I wish I could merge my, Chicago East Side with the business, with the feminine. I wish I could just merge it all together. And he's like, you can. Like, what? He's like, I don't want an accountant. Stuck with me. I don't want an accountant that's too stern and boring. He literally was like, I want to be able to drink some Hennessy and call my accountant and have a phone conversation. And most accountants you can't do that with. And I never thought that people are looking for accountants that they can do that. And so I feel like every year I put myself in a room where someone just reminds me to just go with who I naturally am. Because there is somebody out there that's literally looking for you exactly how you are, and they can't find you because you're blending in with everyone else that they don't want to work with.
Yeah. They're looking for a girl with 4 degrees.
Let's keep it so straight. Come on, Gucci. I can't wait. Shout out to my girlfriend, just finished her PhD.
Yes, shout out to Christina. Listen. Shout out. What? We can do this all day. I really, really, really. So one of the things that I said on one of the captions that I wrote is that you're the first person who I thought of with accounting and twerking in the same doggone like sentence. And I really do appreciate you being yourself through and through. Now I know you envision something else of your future self, but then this person right here is super dope. And it encourages a lot of other people, especially CPAs who see themselves in you, who want to like branch out and do something other than wear the stuffy clothes, be themselves, twerk a little bit, listen to whatever type of music they like. And you being able to do that is a really good example for those who want to leave corporate America and live the life that they want. So I want to just thank you, one, for being a friend. And then 2, for coming on the podcast, sharing your story. Listen, I get so sucked into this girl. It's crazy because I'm like, oh, tell me more. Tell me more. So I'm going to read the book. I'm going to tell you guys what my saboteur is because I have not that I have no clue, but in the language of the book, I'm curious to see what that looks like. But you encourage me to be more like, feminine, right? To be more authentic, to be present. Because as I look at myself, I'm like, okay, so this is who I'm showing up as. This is who I want to show up as. This is who she shows up, right? It's just all information. So, Lauren, thank you again. There was something that you mentioned before earlier. You said you are transitioning from no longer being CFO and CPA for others, but you want to go more into the education space. So before we get out of here, what are some of the things that you are offering now? How can people work with you now? And how can they connect with you?
Well, first you can connect with me through Instagram. That's really the main thing right now. I'm doing better with Instagram. I am currently working on a few education programs to teach entrepreneurs about business. There's a lot of programs that can teach you how to get the money, but then now you're getting the money and you know nothing about business. You know nothing about bookkeeping. You know nothing. You don't even know what an asset is, and you own some. And so I'm coming out with a few things that I'm working on that I've been working on for quite some time now to really educate the masses. And regardless of what industry that you're in, you need to learn business education, and that's what's going to stop you. So that will be, I will be launching that sometime next month. I will definitely give you a link so that everybody that comes through you, they'll be able to get a discount, because I want to reward people that are self-educating themselves. And if you're watching a podcast, then you deserve a discount. So they just need to keep the eye set, follow me, watch me, and in a couple weeks I'll be launching a couple things to really educate any type of business person who has no business degree, no business background. You're gonna be able to share this to your grandma, and she's gonna be able to
Stick to it. Turn that candy store into a real LLC, child.
Okay, let's write this off, Granny.
Listen, I have thoroughly enjoyed you. For those of you guys who are still watching us on Instagram, it's okay. Y'all can come and check us out on YouTube very soon. But the last thing that I want to say is just that, one, we got to have you back. When you launch, we definitely have to have you come back. But two, you make learning fun, right? So I look forward to seeing what that looks like. I look forward to seeing you blossom even more in entrepreneurship and whatever rendition that is. No emails. Look, none of the boring stuff.
No emails. My chest is tight.
Listen, I'm going to let you have the last word, and then we're going to be out of here. What's the final word that you would like to say to folks who are still in their CPA and they want to transition?
I think just for them and for anybody, I think that you need to just take a moment of stillness and figure out what you want to do, and just be honest with yourself. Don't think about how people say you have to live, how you have to make money. Like, there was someone that was unique enough to do it how they wanted to do it, and just follow them. Just don't have these preconceived notions of what you have to do. Literally, just whatever lights you up, whatever you would do for free. I would teach for free. I've taught for free. Go with it. I'm telling you, everything else will just fall into play. And always educate yourself. If you will never be able to meet Steve Jobs, but you can read his books. You can read books about him. So always educate. Just really listen to your internal clock, and it will get you so far in life. 100%. Also, I love what you're doing, Ariel. Let me throw it this way. I felt like a lot of, being someone that came to corporate and tries to figure out what my exit strategy should be. Am I silly? What have other people do? You have such a niche that anybody can just go and watch all these other people that were in corporate that jumped. And that's really what we just have to be inspired to jump. So you have created a platform for people like me, to get inspired and be like, okay, not only do I see other people that jump, she's helping me and she's teaching me create my own exit strategy for myself.
Thank you, Lauren. You are amazing. Until next time, thank y'all so much for watching. Catch us on Monday at 7:00 with another guest. Don't worry, I'm going to post all the info, but today is Lauren's day. So thank y'all for tuning in, and y'all catch us next time, because when she comes back, she's going to put some teaching on you, okay? Yes. Peace out, guys.
Bye. Bye, everybody.